Hey PA gang, PA Reloader here. Hope everybody's having an awesome day. This video that I'm bringing you today is kind of a part two of the initial video I did on my Pit Boss 850 Pro Series. Now, what we're going to do today, all the components are removed from inside the smoker, and we're going to check the auger that it's spinning, and we're going to check the fire pot that it's starting to get warm. Once that happens, we're going to shut down the smoker, and then we're going to fill it with hardwood pellets. And what we're going to do is prime the auger. And that auger is about 18 inches long. So I'm going to hold the prime button down, and I'm going to bring those pellets all the way to where they stop at the burn pot. And what we'll do is we'll let the smoker at that point do its shutdown process. And then what we're going to do is we're going to install all the components back into the smoker, and we're going to do they call it a burn off of all the manufacturing oils and any debris that might be in there. We're going to burn it all off. So stick around and we're going to get to it. So let's do it. Okay, so you can see all the components have been removed from inside the smoker, and this right here, your auger is in here, and it goes all the way from here to there into the hopper. So it's quite a bit of difference or distance to get those pellets, because they move pretty slow. And this is our fire pot. So let's turn this on. Here's our PID controller, and what we're going to do, we're going to turn this on. We're going to turn it to low. And we're going to ensure that the auger is spinning. And it should spin. It might take a little while. Fire pot's heating up, and there that auger is starting to spin. You can see that. We'll do this for about a minute. That auger is slowly turning. It's on a PID number 4 default. So there, the auger's spinning, and that's what's going to bring the pellets into the burn pot. And then we can feel that this is starting to get warm. The fan's blowing warm air. That igniter in there, you see that? It doesn't glow red, but it will severely burn you. So don't stick your hands in there. That ignites the pellets, and we're going to see that once we get this auger primed, and that's feeling warmer. The auger's still turning. Okay, so let's shut it down, and we will add pellets and prime the auger. The other thing that I forgot to mention was we want to make sure that there's no debris or anything in the hopper, and you can see that auger's moving. So, and we got the dump is secure. So let's get some hardwood pellets in this thing. Okay, so we're going to dump some hardwood pellets in this, and then we're going to get that auger primed up and ready for its first burn off. So let me dump some pellets in there. I mentioned in my last video that I bought 5 of these, and I have 100 pounds of pellets, and these store pellets very, very nicely. The lid has a seal, so your pellets aren't getting wet. They're protected from the moisture, so these are pretty handy. if you decide to do the same thing that I'm doing. So let's get some pellets in this hopper. And what I'm using a backyard blend, red oak with white oak, barbecue hard pellets, 20-pound bag. I think it was like, I don't know, 14 bucks. Okay, so I just put hardwood pellets in the hopper. Let me turn you around and you can see. So there we go. The hopper is pretty much full, and we'll close that. And now what we're going to do, we're going to go back down to our PID controller. We're going to turn it on. We're going to turn it to low. And then I'm going to hold this prime button for about 4 to 5 minutes, and I'll bring you guys back after that time is up so you can see the pellets starting to drop into the burn pot. To bring you down to the PID controller, you can see the fans on. Now the auger light came on and the igniter. And we're at 90 degrees Fahrenheit. You can see to the right there's two no probe signals right above each other. To the right of my finger you have Fahrenheit and Celsius. I use Fahrenheit. And what I am doing right now is I'm pressing the auger feed button, and once we get pellets that start to drop into the burn pot, we're going to stop pressing this and we're going to let the auger do its shutdown process. So you can see the fans cooling the igniter right now, and that igniter should turn on as soon as it starts to spin and the burn pot gets a little bit cooler. We should see it in about a second or two. Doesn't take very long, but like I said, that auger is roughly 18 inches long, and it's going to take a little bit of time, about 5 minutes for me holding this button to get that auger full of pellets. So that's just something I wanted to share with you guys so you can see the process. And there it is, the auger came back on. So the auger is moving and it's bringing all those pellets from the hopper slowly into the burn chamber. Okay, you can see the auger has brought pellets into the burn chamber. So what we're going to do, we're going to come over here to the PID controller, and all we're going to do is hold this in for 3 seconds. Fan stays on, shutdown mode. So everything is fine. It held a 90 degree Fahrenheit temperature the whole time, and it did its job. So that auger's working perfectly fine, and the burn chamber was hot. When I just had my hand in there, it was hotter than it was when we ran it for that minute, which makes sense. So it's going in its shutdown mode. So we're going to close this lid. We're going to close the lid, and it's going to take about 15 minutes for that fan to cycle. So I'll be back. I had a viewer comment, really nice comment. It said I went out and purchased this grill, this smoker, 2 days after seeing my video, and he was really impressed with the smoker and the video, so that made me feel pretty good. And I hope he has as much luck with it as I have. Okay, so we're still running in our shutdown mode, but we're just about done. Like I said, the auger is ready to bring pellets into the burn pot, and I can put my hand over this. It's not hot, it's just blowing warm air. So we're just about ready to throw the components back in the smoker and do the initial burn off, so we can get ready to cook some pork butts, some briskets, some ribs, beef or pork. I have them both. So yeah, I'll get back to you as soon as the shutdown process is over. So there are the components that are out of the smoker. You can see the big one with the louvers and the small one with the louvers. Those are your deflector, and that's what that handle on the ground moves that small deflector over the bigger deflector slots. And by pulling and pushing on the handle, if you watch my last video that I showed you, you can see how it opens and closes, so you can actually let a flame come up and sear whatever you're cooking. Put a last final sear on a steak or whatever. We have diamond coated or diamond shaped porcelain coated 2 grill grates, and then it has a top wire rack, which I think will come useful. It'll be a useful thing to have. I know a lot of people take them out, but I think I'm also, just to preserve it, I think the deflectors, I have a Blackstone griddle, and the stuff they sell for the griddle to condition it and preserve it, I'm gonna put some of that on the deflector, and just because it's harmless. You can put your food in there. It's not going to do anything. You don't have to do another initial burn off or anything like that. But I think I am going to coat them just to preserve them a little bit, because the hotter they get, they're going to rust, and I'd like to keep them working as long as possible. So let's get the components back in the grill, and we'll go from there. Okay, so the smoker went into its shutdown mode. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take all the components that I showed you, and we're going to put them back in the smoker, and we're going to do a burn off. Now this burn off is going to be, we're going to set the dial to 350. It says 350 on up, but I think 350 is a good number. We'll let it smoke maybe a little bit longer, maybe like 50 minutes. So let's get started, and we'll start putting this together. Now this has 2 slots, one here, and there's a baffle in here that has 2 nubs, so that goes in that way. Now this might be a little bit of a bear to get in. Okay, that's in. And then what we can do, we're going to put our sear plate in. And this little mechanism right here, when you put your handle in there to open the sear and close the sear, you just lock it over like that and it holds it in. Okay. Grab our handle. They could have made this with just a slip-on rubber handle, but they didn't. They made it out of hard plastic with threads. Not needed, but they went the extra mile and did it. And that's what I'm talking about. This Pit Boss, the features that it has on it and the quality of the materials and the work, I couldn't beat the price. And compared to Traeger's and the Weber's, this just had so much more for me to offer. Now I'm not knocking those brands because they make excellent smokers and grills, but for me it was the Pit Boss. And that slides through. There's a grommeted hole right down here. You guys can't see it. flip that up. Get that in there. That's going to lock just like that. And that's going to work perfectly. Let me show you that. Okay, so there's the handle for the sear plate. Just goes in and out very slightly. And all that does, you can see the locking feature right here. Lock the rod in place. And all this does, closes it for smoking, open it for a final sear. And I don't think many other grills, if any, offer this option. This was a great idea on Pit Boss's part, just to put a final nice flame sear on your food. Okay, next to go in are the grill grates. Now these do go in a certain way. They have these little nubs right here that I'm assuming they're the feet. They have them on all four corners. So we're going to throw these in, and these probably weigh, I'd say, a good 12 to 15 pounds each. This is no joke. This thing's built heavy duty. Okay, the main grill grates are in, and we're going to put this top shelf in. Oh, I have it in backwards. Didn't. Oh, there we go. There's a nub here, and a nub here, so you can pull it forward or push it aft. Okay, so the grill grates are in. Now, what we're going to do, the auger is primed, and the pellets are in the burn chamber. And so they're starting to fall in there. So what we're going to do is we are going to turn this on. We're going to set it to 350, and we're going to leave this lit up until the burn pot. It sounds like almost like a propane torch. That's the air blowing through the auger chamber into the fire pit, and that's giving the flame air just to keep it going and burn the pellets a little faster. So hopper full, auger's good, all the electronics are good, the igniter heated up, all the grates are in, and we're gonna maybe we'll crack those a little bit. Okay, so we are ready to do the burn off. Okay, so I just turned this on. What we're going to do is we're going to dial this up to 350. Goes in increments of 10 degrees, which I like. 5 would be better, but I don't think that it's going to matter. Okay, so there it went from 325 to 350. But I usually smoke right around 250 to 220. So this is actually going to be perfect. So let's get her up to 350. And what we're going to do is we're going to push this, and that's going to set it. So now we're at 350. This 85 degrees is reading that probe right there that's built into the smoker. So that's telling you the ambient temperature inside the smoker. So what that's going to do is as this smoker starts heating up, and once there's a fire in the burn pit, you're going to see that temperature rise because now you're starting to burn the fuel. So I'm going to keep this open I can hear the pellets dropping in. I don't know if we can't really see the pellets dropping in, but I hear them. Yeah, I heard another one. Okay, so that's good. Auger's full, pellets are dropping in. I'm going to crack this grate just a little bit. And once it starts smoking, I'll get back to you. Okay, you can see the smoker starting to get hot and burn off some of those impurities. I can still hear pellets dropping into the auger, or into the fire pot. And if you can see right there, we have a fire. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait till that fire sounds kind of like a torch. And what we're going to do is then I'm going to shut the lid. That's a pretty good fire right in there right now. So I'm going to close this lid. I'm going to open up the smokestack. That should be good. And it's set to 350. Temperature still at 85. That cook chamber's heating up. The fan igniter are on. The auger's off. And the auger is going to turn on periodically and just keep feeding the fire chamber. The reason the auger can't stay on the whole time is because it would just overload the fire chamber and it couldn't burn it fast enough. And that's the whole purpose of the fan, is just to give the fire some air. So I'm going to pause now for a minute, and I will show you the smoke off. All right, we're back. You can see all the white smoke. That's dirty smoke. That's smoke you do not want on your food. And like I said, this is going to take about, I'm going to run it probably 45 to 50 minutes. And then once it cools down, I think that I'm going to remove the grill grates and put a coating of the Blackstone cast iron griddle protective coat. It comes in a jar. It's white, like a grease of some type, but it's not harmful by any means. I've seasoned my Blackstone many times, and I love that thing. It's a great griddle. You can see on the left we're at 103, 104. Temperature starting to climb. Not too much burn off yet. It seems to slow down a little bit. But even if it's not smoking, it's still white smoke coming out of the smokestack. I can see it. But even if the smoking subsides, we still have to give it a good 30 to 40 minute burn. And like I said, I'm going to go 45, 50. So, all right, hang in there. PID is at 147. Temperature on this smoker is rising very nicely. Should be at 350 fairly soon. I mean, it hit 152 in about 4 minutes. You can see the fans on in the auger. So there's a fire in there, so there's no reason for the igniter to be lit. All in all, I love this grill, this smoker. It's I call it a grill and a smoker because it does sear. But the truth is, it's a great smoker, and I think I'm gonna have some really, really good cooks on it. Told the guys at work I'm gonna do a maybe 1 or 2 pork butts and bring in a couple trays of pulled pork, and we can have some sandwiches. So there's a lot you can do with this. And you know, invite your neighbors over and just have fun. Nothing's better than lighting the tiki torches and having a cookout. All right, so I'm gonna pause real quick, and we're gonna let this come up to temperature even more, and then we will open it up at 350 and just take a look and see what we got going on inside. All right, we're at 216 and climbing. That was probably about another 4 minutes. If you look at the Fahrenheit at the top, right next to the 219, 220, you can see just to the right of that flashing, that is your Wi-Fi connection. Like I said in my first video, you can hook or you can sync your iPhone or smartphone to this smoker and control the temp from inside the house, wherever you're at. A buddy of mine has a Traeger with the same similar features, and he was in a store. I think he might have been in Lowe's or Home Depot, and he said, wait a minute, to his family, and he shut his grill off, his smoker off from there. So that's just really cool. You know, if it's snowing out, or if not snowing, but if it's real cold out and you don't feel like getting up to check your food, because most food you put on here, you're not going to be checking for the first couple hours. You know, like a pork butt might go 4 hours before you check it, especially if you have a probe in it. And you know, once you do check it, you're just going to spritz it until it gets the perfect bark. And then I personally like to wrap my ribs and briskets and things in butcher paper. That's what I did with my vertical smoker. So the technology's there. It's pretty neat that you can do all that. We're at 260. There it is. I'll get back to you. Okay guys, we are at 350 and it seems to be holding pretty well. 351, jumping between 351 and 352. There is some smoke coming out of the stack. Doesn't look too dirty, but it is whiter. So I believe that that's the oils from manufacturing that they use. So now that this is at 350, I'm just gonna let it do its thing for the next 40 plus minutes. All right, hang in there and I'll be back to you for the final, the burn off. Okay guys, I bumped the temp up to 370 just to give a little bit more heat, and it's been hanging out there for 15 minutes, maybe a little bit longer. So the ambient probe that is inside the cook chamber or barrel, that's what it's reading. Inside that barrel, it's 369 to 70 degrees. And you can see, which I think is an important factor, and I mentioned it in my first video, this is made of 14 gauge steel, carbon steel. Now, the other name brands that are out there only use 16 or 18 gauge, which is super thin. 16 you can get away with, but if you look, you can see smoke coming out of the stack very lightly, but there's no smoke escaping from the seams where the smoker lid seals to the barrel. Same over here. No smoke, but there is smoke. Very light. It's getting cleaner. That white smoke is gone, and this smoke has a little bit of a bluish tint to it, but yeah, I think that's important. Get the best for your money. You know, this grill wasn't cheap, but I needed a smoker. The vertical one just was done for. So let's finish this burn off and then I'll get back to you. Okay guys, we're at the 40-minute mark and I decided to shut her down. She was holding about 360. I'm not going to complain about that because it's a little breezy out here, so there could be some fluctuation going into that smokestack, blowing, you know, the heat down. and giving a false reading. Once this shutdown is over, I'm going to open it up. We'll check out the, I'm going to call it a patina on the deflector and the grill grates, and we're just going to give everything a look. So I will be back. Okay, shutdown cycle is just about completed. One thing I wanted to mention, two things actually. The one thing I just don't really like about this pellet grill smoker is this cage. Now I get why they put it in there, so nobody gets their hands caught in the auger. I have seen somebody take a Dremel, cut out the center and leave the sides. I've seen some people just unbolt this thing completely and take it out. I think I'm just going to get a stick and just move the pellets around, just so there won't be any air pockets where the pellets get hung up and they don't get into the auger. And there was the shutdown. Pellet smoker is off. And the other thing I want to mention too, just for safety reasons, when you are starting your pellet smoker and you know your auger's primed and you turn it on, you set your temperature, leave that door open. Leave this open, because if you don't, that smoke in there could honestly blow that door off. So until you hear that roaring fire, keep that door open, just for safety reasons. I've seen videos on YouTube, and I'm sure maybe you have too, that the door just either blows up or blows completely off. I've seen both. So this is the burn off. Top rack, nice and clean. You can see the grates, everything's burned off. 350 degrees for 40 minutes. There's your sear function again. We'll open that up and let her cool down. And yeah, so that's it. You can see the inside is nice and clean. All those chemicals are burned off, and we're ready to start a cook. Okay guys, so all in all, that's the whole procedure for checking your electrical components, priming the auger, and then doing the chemical burn off of the manufacturing oils. Pretty straightforward, simple. The instruction book is very good on it. I read it through a couple times, and this video I kind of just memorized what needed to be done. So if you like this video, that's great. Please like it, share it, comment. I love comments, and if you would, subscribe. I love seeing the people subscribe to me. I get 0 from YouTube. I do this purely out of a hobby, and I enjoy it, and I hopefully bring something to the table for somebody else to you know, maybe get some of the gear that I have in some of my other videos, or like that gentleman said, he bought a smoker 2 days after seeing my review. So that kind of stuff really makes me happy, and I feel like people are getting good information from my content. So get out there and start smoking. It's a lot of fun, and the food is great. So again, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you guys on the next video.